All right, so we're talking SLI, the SITE types. Okay, I got my coffee armed up for it. This is perfect for this type. So SLIs, this is part of Delta Quadra type. Delta Quadra, of course, dominated by SI and FI. So SLIs, usually a very relaxed group of people. That's kind of how they're described or how they're seen by the outside. They may themselves not always feel so relaxed, um, but they always come across as a very relaxed in the same kind of constant chill kind of mood, from day to day, each day. You know how that's just kind of how they go about stuff. Um, and it's kind of the way they like it. They like maintaining a certain comfort, a certain routine that they go about each day, doing their job, doing their stuff, participating in their activities, but trying to do it in a way that is pleasant, that is relaxing to them, that is comfortable, and pleasant for them to do it. This is because they're dominated by SI. So it's very much a type that is interested in enjoying good food, enjoying having that cup of coffee in the morning. Um, the few that I know are big time coffee drinkers too. Um, and like making sure they get the nice coffee. These are the guys who are going to have that coffee pot at the office, making sure every day they have good coffee that they're making. Not little shitty coffee that's just quick. No, it's good quality coffee that they want to make, and here it is. And they're probably making it themselves. Um, Again, enjoying the food, enjoying the coffee, enjoying the nice environment, dressing comfortably, working at a very comfortable pace. Um, it's a type that can have its routines, but it's not a system or routine or structure that has to be followed like this for the sake of efficiency. If they have a routine, it's more about the whole day that they're doing. Like, this is what I like to do each day. This is about the time I wake up. This is how I like to have my coffee. This is how I like to eat my food. Then I go to the office or I do something, and this is how I kind of go about that. And, and it's designed with a routine in mind that is geared towards doing things in the most pleasant, comfortable way for them to get through their day and, talk to people in a pleasant way, maintain a nice, pleasant, comfortable kind of vibe throughout the day. Now, that pleasant vibe is designed mostly for themselves. This is how they, as an individual, like to operate. It's not that they're creating a vibe for everyone else in the room or in the office or in the house or whatever. It's really, this is how they like to do stuff. It's how they enjoy it. So that's SI, and it's SI with TE being the creative function for them. So they are, again, pleasantly going about their business and what's comfortable to them, but they're doing it in a very practical way, getting things done, applying their knowledge well. Whatever they do, they usually do it well. They have a certain standard of getting things done that is of a certain quality that they have decided. Like, this is what getting good work done means. This is what a satisfactory level of accomplishment is for the day. They usually set that for themselves, and they're very good with that practical knowledge, knowing how to get things done well. Now, T is the creative function, but they're also going to have TI as a demonstrative function. Okay, these are the big three functions that you should be seeing in this type. This is kind of the way I like to look at it. So you have SI is the bold function, TE is creative, and TI would be the demonstrative. So TI and SI should be very noticeable in these people. With that TI, that's why they should have a certain amount of consistency going on, a certain way in which they like to go about doing things that seems almost like a consistent routine approach to stuff, a system, a little structure that they impose. And they need a little system, a little structure from time to time, right? Because that's how you're going to maintain a pleasant environment. You keep things relatively consistent. Okay, you don't want things going all over the place and being crazy, because then it's going to disrupt your ability to have that nice quiet time in the morning, or have that nice cup of coffee, or have that work pace that you enjoy. right? You need things to be somewhat systematized and consistent, okay? But they don't cling to it. It's not important that it stays exactly the same. They don't mind if it alters a little bit here and there and you're making little modifications. As long as it works and gets the job done, and as long as they can try to maintain things in a pleasant pace, that's what they're really after. That's the ultimate goal. That's the SI. Keeping things comfortable, keeping things optimal for themselves, allowing them to kind of take their time through the day to get things done at their leisure, if you will. Right? Ultimately, this is an ST club, right? So it's the pragmatist club. They have ST stuff up front. So they're very down to earth people, very pragmatic in what they're interested in. They're usually paying more attention to the day-to-day things that they need to do, what's going on, how they're going to get those tasks completed, or it could be their hobbies and things they want to do. And usually those hobbies and things they want to do are more down to earth stuff that they can do in a pleasant kind of way. So they may just enjoy sitting around playing video games, and they want to sit and kind of play some video games on their time. It could be a type that wants to go fishing with the boys and just kind of go fishing and relax with some beers and some food or whatever. I'm describing this a little bit like a masculine kind of type, but again, this totally applies for women and females that are SLI. It's the same thing. They're going about their day in this sort of relaxed sort of way. They may be, again, enjoying little recreation. They might enjoy gardening, hiking, going out, getting some nature, so on. Going, checking out the nice restaurant or something like that, or really indulging in quality food and things like that. Really enjoying, hey, this nice restaurant, they have this kind of food, or the steak is great, or this other thing, they cut it great. They're a type to enjoy that. They're a type to really talk about that too. Be that person around the office that's kind of looking forward to going to get lunch at this really nice place where they enjoy the way the food is prepared or whatever, you know. Enjoy a certain food festival because they get to eat certain things like that. Very sensory, very little sensory pleasures that they can kind of enjoy. Okay, so they deal with that quite a bit. Practical and efficient. They're usually really good with again, day-to-day stuff, money. Usually pretty good with money. Pretty good with getting day-to-day job tasks, things done. Let's get things done. It's done. Okay, now we can relax. Like, they're sometimes described as a type that likes to work with their hands because it's kind of like a delta quadrant thing. And sometimes that's the case, but it's not always. Many of the SLIs that I know are not your blue collar working with your hands kind of craftsman types of people. Not at all. Some of the ones that I know who are guys work in medical field. They work as doctors. They work as physician assistants, where, I mean, outside of the usual things you do with your hands as a doctor, I mean, you're not really somebody's working with your hands. Some of these same people are not the kind of people you would consider handymen who you're going to call to get dirty and fix your car stuff. Like, not necessarily. Okay, it just, that comes down to the individual and what their interests are and what kind of job and so on they've chosen to go into. But what is consistent is that they are always like to go, again, the sensory things. They like to take their time about it, have their routine, be relaxed about their approach to everything, making sure that things are organized and getting things done to a good standard of work that they decide, this is me putting in good effort into each and every case and task that I do. That's what's consistent about all the SLIs. Okay, what they actually do, which job or whatever, is depends on the individual. Okay. Anyway, all right, so let's drive on. They have FI as a mobilizing function. Um, so this is a type valuing of FI they're usually not a very emotive type. They're not a type that does great at firing up the crowd or getting it's lively with an infectious attitude and laugh and all this other stuff. No, no, not at all. This is usually a type that's actually, again, they're very chill, very relaxed. Um, Almost to a fault. They can almost be a little flat affect with certain sometimes. Other times they're not. It's um, they can be very polite and very social, but it's very steady. Their energy is very, very steady. Their energy is just about them going about doing what they want to do. It's not about trying to motivate others. It's not about trying to get others on board. It's not about creating a mood and an atmosphere for other people to enjoy. They don't do that. They're usually not very good at that. In fact, sorry to say, this is usually a type that's not terribly exciting. Sorry, it just this is rarely one of those types that you look at and go, wow, he's the life of the party. That guy, what a personality on him, huh? He's a rock star. No, very relaxed kind of type. But with the F5, they're usually very good at knowing who they like, who they don't like, maintaining friendships. This is a type that can easily maintain friendships for a long time. Um, have friends that they've known since high school, since middle school, since kindergarten. Have a dozen or so friends like that. They can have quite a number of friends that they've kept in contact with and continue to hang out with for a long, long time. Uh, can do well in relationships as well. One of those types that can really settle down early, find that spouse or whomever early, be consistent, stay with that individual, so on. Really quite capable of that. Can really enjoy spending time with that spouse and significant other around the house, doing little things, again, going out to eat, um, doing other little things, going on a little hiking trail with the spouse, whatever, really spending low key quality time, relax, maybe even just sitting around in bed. Uh, yeah, so usually, so pretty good with the FI stuff, and they can get better. Their suggestive function, where they're not so great, is going to be NE. So NE, it's usually about exploring different topics, different kinds of ideas and concepts out in the world, different things and so on, even topics that are not directly useful to you. It's not part of your job. It's not an immediate hobby or something that you've participated in the past or that you enjoy, but being introduced to these new kinds of ideas and things and appreciating all this kind of newness and different angles to things, different ways of looking at stuff. They're a type that they're just not great at this. They're not. This is, again, a very, very pragmatic, um, day-to-day kind of person. But they do value it. They do like it. And so I have seen this type showing some of that any in like fiction. Like they'll enjoy watching certain shows or reading books a lot. I see this a lot, particularly reading books, going through maybe reading about different philosophies, maybe reading science fiction stuff, maybe reading some science theory things, particle physics, dark matter, black holes, multi-dimensional, whatever. They can kind of indulge in that a bit, and you see it kind of happening again on their free time when they're reading, or again at TV shows they like to watch maybe. So it's this little thing that they kind of like lightly dabble into, right? Usually for fun and for recreation, whatever. Um, this is a type that might get interested in theater. I've seen that too. They're theater and they're actors and they're performers in theater, and through theater they get to explore different kinds of topics and things like that. Um, Particularly with these types, it's exploring topics with people, especially. Okay, it's that FI and NE combined. So it's learning over time to explore different kinds of people, how different lifestyles of people work, um, and how there can be like merit to those different lifestyles, those different approaches that people have. It takes them a while. Early on in their life, they kind of have their approach to things. They have their ways of how people should behave and how people should value things. They're not really rigid about that, but they sort of have those viewpoints. And then over time, they expand their view of others. They expand how they could be different walks of life and people doing different kinds of things. So that's another way you're seeing the NE kind of like popping up. Because NE is the suggestive function, they're NE seeking, so they may also very much enjoy a partner or other people around them that can provide them some creativity, some different ways of looking at stuff, some different topics to get into, provide them a little bit of that sci-fi interest, whatever. And they like seeing people grow and develop. It's another big one. They're not a type that likes people to be the same person, static, the exact same person they were back in middle school. They like, seeing people that vary, that develop over time. They become kind of different. They get into some new hobbies and some new stuff, and can talk about some different things as time goes on. It shows growth and development in a person. It shows a little creativity, a little unusualness. All right. So beat the hell out of that. What else do we have over here? So because they're an SI type, dominant, they have SE as the ignoring function, right? Whatever your dominant thing is, the introverted extroverted version of it is going to be ignored. So they ignore SE. They only like to use SE, high energy, force, like really work hard and sweat and grind if they have to. They only want to be there competing with people and having to work against people if they have to. They're not really a competitive type per se. And let me clarify that. They can be competitive in a fun way, like play games, sitting there playing a game together, video games, board games, things like that. They can be competitive at times. They want to win, but they're not competitive in the real life sense of somebody who's really trying to climb the social hierarchy, become the VIP at some business and corporation. They're not seeking to compete with others on standards like, oh, that guy over there got these kind of scores on this thing. I need to do better. I want to score better than that guy did. So I'm going to push myself to score more than that guy did. Oh, that guy over there is lifting. He's lifting more weight. I need to lift more weight than that guy. They're usually not a type to compare themselves to others and to go around trying to compete with others for things. This is a type that really prefers to kind of do their own thing. They go about stuff on their own pace, the way they like it, and that's it. And if other people are better than them, okay, whatever. So be it. They really don't let that bother them at all. Uh, uh, so they can compete, but in games and things like that, it's meant more for fun and recreation. They're not really a type that wants to compete in the real world sense of stuff. They're not a type that really wants to be pushing at themselves, right? Because SI is what matters most, keeping that comfortable pace. If you're trying to compete with others, you're trying to push yourself, then that means being uncomfortable at times. That means being, not being able to enjoy that food, not being able to get that nice sleep. That means running really hard or moving really fast or doing things that stresses the body, that puts strain on you. And they don't want that. They're not interested in that. So they're rarely a type to be that competitive. Again, they can play on sports teams. Don't get me wrong, they can do that, but they don't have the same kind of competitive fire that an SE dominant has. Right. Let's see what's left. What was left? Oh yes, the polar function. Kind of mentioned it a little bit. Fe. Um, yeah. So again, they're an Fi type. Fi in the mobilizing spot. So Fe is a polar function. This is the other thing you're looking for. I like doing the big three. You see the Si on top. You see the Te as a creative. You see the Ti as a demonstrated function. Then what else we need to confirm this type? Fe, kind of Fe polar that's going on here. Um, this is a type that is often, again, very seen as very stoic, just very like calm, going about their own business, not trying to compete with other people. They're not trying to push others to do anything. They're not, none of that. They just kind of want to do their own thing. So they sometimes can seem very flat affect, as I mentioned before. They seem like they're just not good at being exciting and charming and getting things going. Sometimes they could even act and speak in a very slow kind of way. um, and because they're just so focused on kind of doing their own thing, doing themselves, staying chill and comfortable, um, they just don't have much interest in getting involved with creating the mood and changing things with other people. This is a type that can kind of really stick to doing things in their own way, just avoiding what the group wants to do. This is a type that maybe they go along with the group, but they're not really adding or contributing. They're just kind of there. Just there, nodding and smiling and just kind of, but they're not really putting out energy to impart, affect the group and like get the group hyped up and excited or anything. Nah, they're just right there. Just it's pretty consistent. It can even in some cases get to the point where they're not really very well aware of um, the emotions going on in other people. This is a type that does not like people who are too hysterical, too emotional, too dramatic. They don't really like that stuff. They like keeping things kind of, again, relaxed, simple. Uh, this is a type that again speaks and usually they're pretty straightforward in their language as well. Not too flowery, very practical, matter of fact. It's just not a terribly exciting type. Um, what else we got over here? Ni is a role function. Um, so when they need to, they can kind of see where things are going, looking at being inside their head, thinking about stuff deeply, trying to figure out what is that single thing that matters most to me in the long run that has profound meaning. Like, you know, they can do that as a role when needed to, when it's part of their job or it's part of an activity. They can kind of do that um, a little bit, but they're not terribly great at it. They don't really care that much to do it. They prefer to be much more in the real world, doing what they do. Um, yeah, going about their daily stuff, staying comfortable, just sticking with it. They're not one to sit around pondering too long of like, oh, is what I'm doing really meaningful in the world, and it's gonna like, does it really affect things deeply in some way, or am I just here spinning my wheel? They're not a type to worry about that. They 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 usually don't worry about that too much. Again, they kind of need to be prompted to do it somehow. So the Ni is not great. So that's the super ego area. Ni is not terribly great. They use it a little bit, but so they don't have that. And then the Fe, as mentioned, polar, super relaxed, super chill. They're a great group of people. If that's what you want somebody that's calm, steady, reliable, gets things done, keeps things nice and chill. But if you're looking for somebody who's going to be the life of the party, who's going to be like a rock star of energy in there, this is usually not it. Not it. Um, They can sometimes even be described as a bit of a wet blanket. Because they're just not as emotional and emotionally present with people and having a good time like that. Very good. So anyway, that's for the most part the SLIs. Not to be confused with LSIs, which is the other type that often they get confused for. This is SLI, Delta Quadra with SI leading. They are not as structured and rigid about things. This is not a rigid type. They have their ways of doing stuff, but they're not as rigid and tough and stiff about stuff. Right? That is S. Those are the LSIs. They're the ones that can be much more rigid about how you go about doing things and sticking to that structure they've created. It's LSI. These guys, they just kind of want to go about it in a nice, relaxed pace, and they'll get whatever task needs to get done. They'll get it done. All right. That's generally it. Okay. Depending on certain temperament of the individual, which is kind of more of a subtype conversation now, this type can be a little bit aggressive sometimes. They can be one of those types that are prone to anger and so on. So not always just like chill, never explain. They can have moments of flare-ups of anger, but it's temporary, it's minor. It's not something that's consistently part of their personality. Yeah, so there you go. Usually paired up well with the ENFP, the IEE, because the IE brings a little bit of that any fun, like seeing things in different ways kind of stuff. But the IE can also be very chill with people as well. So that's kind of what works well for their dual. But we'll save that for another time. So for now, that pretty much covers it. Like and subscribe. Tell me what you think. Do you relate to this type? Is this your type? Do you know people this your type? Etc. All right. On to the next one.